My name is Steve Gifford. I'm the president of Jetmall LLC. We're located in Fort Worth, Texas, and we are a company that I'm very proud of. Over the years, I have been president of several different organizations and companies, but I've never been president of one that I have loved any more than Jetmall. Why is that? Number one, I feel that our work is absolutely the best that there is. I'm sure there probably is another company or two somewhere that could work equally as well as ours. We have something that others do not have, and that is our team, Steve Fornes being one of the chief engineers on our project. And when you look at his credentials, over 30 years with Boeing, we believe that he brings to this project one of the highest degrees of efficiency and knowledge of technology that anybody in the United States would have. And then, though, finally, one thing that I'm very, very pleased we can say, I know of no company that has a higher degree of integrity than Jetmall. We want everything to be absolutely perfect and to be right. We will not shortcut, we will not cut corners, because we want this to be done exactly as it should be done. And for that, I give you my absolute honest word. That is the kind of product that you will receive. Thank you, and I'd like to introduce now Steve Fornes, and I hope you will listen carefully to what he has to say.
Hi, we're here today to talk about the Dreamliner and the VIP interiors of such airplanes. One of the major points of the Dreamliner is it's manufactured primarily out of composite materials. So let's talk about what the history of composites has been like. Composites were started back in the early 70s in mostly military aircraft. My background is McDonnell Douglas. We did the VVIP Harriers, F-18s. Those aircraft had composites for a very important reason. The material is much stronger than the aluminums or titaniums or steels for the weight. And like with all aircraft, weight is an extremely important part. It gives you better range, it gives you better maneuverability, and it also helps in other areas in terms of fatigue and damage tolerance. But basically what we want to talk about is the Dreamliner and how we got to using composites in a commercial aircraft. The commercial application of composites has lagged that of the military aircraft because of the cost of manufacturing. As time has gone on, that cost has come down with new and innovative manufacturing methods. Another thing that has come along is the fact that the composite manufacturing methods that we have today make the aircraft much more integral. And by that I mean the parts are cured together. And let's talk about curing for a second. As you put a composite airplane together, you actually lay every layer of the material onto the conformed shape. That conformed layers and layers of material, whether they be for the longerons or for the skins, are all cured together in a large autoclave oven, okay, which runs at about 375 degrees Fahrenheit for about a day with about 150 psi pressure, thus consolidating or pushing together the composites, making it as thin as possible. Okay, that is the basic manufacturing process that has taken place in order to generate the major fuselage sections of the 787 Dreamliner. Why is that important? Composites offer about a 3 to 4 factor of reduced weight for the overall structure of the aircraft. This has been a game changer. This has improved the Dreamliner's range, its cost per seat mile, which is a very important factor for the commercial airlines. But also in the VIP world, it also has given us a larger aircraft for the money associated with operational costs. The overall cost of operating this aircraft for its size will be greatly lower than a similar metal aircraft, just basically on weight and fuel consumption. Now let's talk a little bit about your Dreamliners. Your Dreamliners will be purchased from the Boeing factory and will come with nothing on the inside. We call it a green aircraft. Green because when they were aluminum, it was painted green on the inside for corrosion prevention. Now, let's talk about once we start the project, once you hire us to start the project. There is going to be two phases to this project, or two portions to the project. Let's talk first about portion number one, which is the certification and engineering. Okay, the information that you will see in the models that I will show you in the next few sections are a three-dimensional representation of the Dreamliner inside a program called AutoCAD Inventor. Okay, this representation of the interior is just at this point a representation of a possible interior. As we go through the rooms of that interior, from the front, which is a office space and a bathroom and bedroom, all the way to the back to a common area, which is more set up for a larger group of people. We will go over that in specifics in a second. But the point I want to make here is this is just a possible configuration. After you hire us, we will work with you on an individual basis to set the configuration, to make sure that we have the right number of rooms, the right number of people, right size of rooms, right proportions of the sections of the aircraft. Why is that important? The other part of that process will be the selection of the woods that will go into it, the cloths, the fabrics associated with everything from the carpets to the shades on the windows. We will also have you select the leathers that go into the seat coverings. At that point in the process, we will then develop what's called a rendering. That's far different than what you're going to see in the next few minutes in this presentation. A rendering is almost a photo-like look of what the aircraft is going to be with your selected fabrics, cloths, carpets, leathers, veneers. At that point in time, all we have spent is putting that into the computer. There's a very small amount of cost. It can be changed. At that point, it can still be manipulated to get the feel and look that you want. Okay, and we understand that there may not be just one person involved in that process. There may be multiple people involved in that process. Once we get a consensus on that, then we are able to write a specification for what the entire VIP modification will be. That specification allows us to start on the second part, or second portion of this project, which is the build portion. We can then start from the specification and go to companies to get cabinets made, and we can get some of the galleys developed and manufactured. And we do this to a point called mock-up. And when we take the mock-ups, we bring them into the plane, and that's about the first point in time we need the aircraft. When that happens, we can bring in the mock-ups. The mock-ups are the cabinets themselves, but they do not have the veneers and the painting done on them so that they're not damaged during the mock-up process. Everything is brought and done during a check fit so that we have the whole airplane put together, but without any of the fabrics or without any of the special veneers and coatings. Then all of those cabinets and parts will go back to the individual manufacturers and in essence made into the finished product with the veneers and the fabrics that you have selected for your aircraft. Now let's get a little specific to your aircraft. The next few things that we're going to run through are, like I stated, a possible configuration for the aircraft. In the presidential aircraft, we have started with basically a mock-up of the U.S. Air Force One. The front entrance of the aircraft can be used by the president, and the first door on the hallway leads into a private area, leads into a private office space, and then through that office space into a private bedroom, and forward to that a private bath. Okay, as you move back in the hallway, you come to a large meeting room. This large meeting room will be used or could be utilized for very significant meetings. It has a possibility of having up to 12 people, has a large flat screen TV, very sophisticated communication systems that will be put on this airplane. As you move back, we have a staff area for the senior staff, and then we have another office space for senior staff to work individually, or for if we've taken newspaper or publicist people along board, they can use that area to communicate off of aircraft with commercial means. As we move back, we go into an area of seating, which would be for the security staff and for the presidential staff. Behind that, we have another section if you had the public relations people or newspaper or television people along with you, you'd have them into the most furthest section. There will be in a section of the aircraft a secure cabinet for the security team to put weapons as necessary. Up in the very front part of the aircraft, we have an area which will be set up for military type communications, allowing the President to constantly be in contact in an emergency with all of the agencies, whether that be a military emergency or a weather-related emergency. He can use the aircraft as an ability to go to the location and control what's going on, or at least get updates on responses to the problem that they're going to possibly run into when they get there. In this aircraft, Boeing has developed two specialized areas. These specialized areas are called crew rest. Crew rest is a very highly regulated area for sound, for lighting, for emergencies, so that up front the pilots can have their crew rest area, and in the back end, right where the aft galley structure is, there is a crew rest for the flight attendants. Those crew rest areas are up above the main area that's shown in this model that we have presented to you. We are now going to show you a couple of view graphs that show you what those crew rests look like. It is our opinion that when you buy the aircraft, you order the aircraft with the crew rest areas from Boeing. Because of the requirements and because of the stairs that lead up to them being so compact, we feel that it is the optimum use of your money to just purchase those two crew rest areas. Let's get down to it. Why do we need crew rest areas? You need crew rest areas because this aircraft has almost a 16-hour possible flight time. It has over 8,000 nautical mile range, which puts you into that 16-hour flight range, and with the requirements for pilots and for crew, you need to have a place for them to rest in order to meet the regulations. Okay, I want to go into a quick explanation here of what you're going to see about the specific aircraft that we've laid out for you. We have spent a tremendous amount of time already developing a three-dimensional, full-scale 787 Dreamliner inside a computer program called AutoCAD Inventor. That model is not just the seating and the cabinets and the VIP area. That model has the actual stringers, skin, windows, doors, bulkheads, the cabin floor beams, all the frames of the aircraft, and the lower belly, the cargo areas, all detailed out exactly as they are in the airplane. This allows us to start the engineering portion of this project upwards to 6 months before we ever have the aircraft. It is that ability to start the aircraft project early that is extremely important in order to manage the schedule that we hope to make on these VIP aircraft. The ability to start the project and get the other work that we talked about, the renderings and the specification, that stuff, being able to get it done ahead of time of actually having the aircraft on site, can only be done accurately by having this three-dimensional full-scale model already developed. We've put a tremendous amount of time and effort into it already, and I think you'll see that in the view graphs as we go through the individual configuration of the aircraft.
We thank you for viewing our presentation today, and we look forward to a partnership with you that will allow us the privilege of working with you. Thank you again, and we know that you will be pleased with our services.